The call on the ice stands. We gotta go.
Okay, fellas, we are set to go.
Let's roll, boys. Come on, let's get going.
We are kicking.
Here we go. Both guys, 5 minutes each for fighting. Watch the blue. Play the puck. We're not doing this. Hey.
After further review, it's the Scouting the Refs podcast.
Yeah, baby.
Here's your hosts, Todd Lewis and Josh Smith.
Okay, gentlemen, play ball. Let's go.
All right, guys, let's drop the puck.
Hey, look who's back. It's Josh. It's Todd. Hey, we're back. More podcasts for another season. How was your summer?
Oh, it went too quick. I mean, unlike the officials, we actually get a bit of an off season, so we get a break there. They're working hard. They're training. They're prepping. They're reading the changes to the rule book. So maybe not as much of a break for them, but nice to unplug for a little bit, recharge, and get ready for the 2025-26 season.
I think that we both kept ourselves pretty busy over the summer, too. I mean, you're right about the training part. I don't think that that's something that either of us really dabble in, but I think we've done enough to keep busy over the summer with projects and other things and stuff. So it's nice to get back in though, because there's always the excitement of a new season to come.
Yeah, a new season. I mean, you start to see the training camps open up, the prospect camps are happening. Updates are coming out from the league. It starts to get a little more exciting. You know, you fire up the lights in the rink, you roll the Zamboni out, do a couple laps, and before you know it, Todd, we'll be dropping the puck.
And we'll be doing it every week on the Scouting the Refs podcast. Don't forget, you can follow us on all of the social channels, be it X, be it Instagram, be it Blue Sky, be it whatever. Coming up on this week's episode, as Josh mentioned, camps are open. There's a bunch of new guys that are showing up. How about some adjustments to the rule book? And why not start off a new season and a new episode? Do you think we might be able to get in a little goaltender interference talk? I mean, let's just start right away, don't you think?
Always room for goaltender interference, whether you want it or not.
Okay. First, though, a special message to Edmonton Oilers fans. Can you imagine spending a week in the sunshine with Edmonton Legends? The Edmonton Legends Hockey Cruise 2026 is taking place next summer. We're already planning your summer holidays, July 17th to the 24th in 2026, aboard the Royal Caribbean's Navigator of the Seas, cruising the Mexican Riviera. Included in the guests on board, Jason Strudwick, Bill Ranford, Ron Lowe, Gene Principe, Jack Michaels, Kelly Buckberger, and Louis DeBrusque. Josh, I hope these guys are not in charge of navigating the Caribbean Navigator to get them to their destination. I'm not sure that's a good idea.
You can let them take the wheel for a few minutes, but I think that's about it.
They've been known to veer off course severely, but hopefully they'll keep them pointed in the right. You got a week to get there, right? You don't have to get there the first day. You got a whole week to get there.
It doesn't have to be a straight line, right?
Fair enough, and it rarely was with any of those guys. So there's meet and greets, there's hot stove and Q&A sessions, you get autographs and more. It's all possible. You could watch the World Cup final at sea. All it takes is a $500 deposit as well. Book at cast.tours/Edmonton and make sure you use our special promo code REFS. REFS 2026. You'll get $100 off per person. Book again at cast.tours/Edmonton. Refs 2026 is the code. Okay. Now we've set people up with their vacation for next summer. How about we look at what's ahead? You mentioned camps are opening up for the players, and there is training camp for the officials as well.
Yep, training camp's a fun time of year. They go through the changes to the rule book, what's new, what are we focusing on for this year, and really, who are the guys that are going to be taking the ice? Now, we've certainly had some changes there. So between rules, between new guys, between fitness and training and getting everybody up to speed, it's an exciting week for the boys in Buffalo, New York for the officials training camp. And this year, Todd, it's not just the NHL guys. With the announcement that they will be going to the Winter Olympics, they've invited some of the IIHF officials that they'll be working alongside to kind of get to know each other, break the ice a little bit. So an interesting camp really sets the stage for the upcoming season and the 2026 Olympics.
Now, there was a note in the ratification of the new CBA that there's not going to be any more fitness testing for players. Is there fitness testing for officials out on the ice?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure the level of the testing or just, I mean, they're really doing evaluations to see. They've done it for years. I'll have to check in and see if it was something that has changed at the camp this year. But I think in the past, they've done it just to get that baseline of where guys are at so that they can figure out, you know, where do you need to improve stamina scoring and just to maintain that level of fitness. So I think it's an important metric. I don't know that the Officials Association negotiated that out in their CBA like the players did.
And the dress code as well is the other thing in the CBA that everybody's very excited about. You mentioned that there are some new officials coming in. So we should mention who they are and congratulate them on being promoted and being hired by the National Hockey League coming in this year.
Yeah, Jordan Samuels-Thomas spent a couple years in the league, worked his way up after an AHL career to officiate in the AHL. He's now full-time, stepping up from splitting time between the NHL and AHL to becoming full-time NHL referee. And then on the lines, Ryan Jackson, son of longtime NHL referee Dave Jackson, has also been promoted to full-time. So good for him. 3 straight Calder Cup finals for him. Definitely showing his abilities down in the AHL and earning that full-time spot. Now, with them moving up and the retirements, remember we lost Ghislain Hebert and Derek Nansen retiring at the end of the season. So there are some spots to fill, and that creates a great opportunity for the NHL, who's looking at career officials, guys who've worked their way up. They're also looking at officials coming out of the officiating exposure combine, which takes place every summer in August. And that's where we've seen former players, high-level players that have made the jump to officiating, and it's really a crash course for them. They try to see if they can make that transition to switch, to pick up the whistle, and usually you've got that athletic ability, which helps. You're familiar with the game. It just matters on how you can make those calls, make the assessments, and enforce the rule book in real time. So between those, and these are all guys who've had a strong showing at the Combine, we've got 1 new referee and 3 new linesmen coming into the league. Ben Betker, possibly the tallest, largest referee. I think he's 6'7" was the last I heard, coming in to split time between the NHL and AHL wearing the armband. So welcome to Ben. And then on the lines, we get 3, again, like Jackson, 3 linespersons who've made their careers in the AHL last season, had an impact. All 3 worked the Calder Cup finals. Dylan Blujus, Jeremy Faucher, and Shawn Oliver. So you get guys, Blujus, who transitioned from a player, and then somebody like Faucher who spent a career in officiating. You have that mix there of where these guys are coming from into these roles. So those 4, Betker, Blujus, Faucher, and Oliver, will be splitting time between the NHL and AHL this season. Expect the linespersons to debut in the fall. Betker probably more in the spring when you get to ease somebody into eliminated teams from the playoffs, and that's when I'm expecting him to make his debut. But those opportunities also came about because we did lose 2 linespersons. Mitch Hunt and Justin Johnson, NHL, AHL guys, have both been released by the league, so they will not be returning to the National Hockey League for 2025-26.
All right, and before we move on to touch on the rule book and what's new for the upcoming season, let's mention that Ghislain Hebert has retired from the National Hockey League, but has not been out of work long because he's jumped right back into another gig.
No, I mean, we looked at it. We said, hey, he's retiring. Okay, sailing off into the sunset. Apparently, instead of sailing off into the sunset, he sailed across the Atlantic Ocean to Germany because he has picked right back up in the DEL. He's already working over there. He's manned a game, probably a couple at this point. September 12th, Cologne, Munich. He started working over there. So he's now working internationally and still keeping the stripes, keeping the whistle. So even though he's no longer in the National Hockey League, he is plying his trade in Europe, and all the best to him overseas.
Congratulations on the new afterlife from the National Hockey League for Ghislain Hebert. Okay, so we did mention that there are some changes. And now, when we say that there have been changes made to the rule book, many of us, me included, immediately say, uh-oh, and I start thinking about the government simplifying the tax code because it never actually simplifies things. However, let's give some credit where credit's due. It does look like things have been streamlined in a few areas this year that hopefully make it easier to officiate and easier for fans to follow along.
There are a few spots. I mean, the NHL's ironed out a couple kinks where the word manager used to be in there, and now it's just coach and things like that. Also, awarded goals. It used to be that it was up to the scorer's discretion. Now, if a player is fouled or prevented from getting a loose puck and scoring an empty net goal, the goal will be awarded to that player instead of the player who had last touched the puck, which is technically what the rule was before. A couple things there that are a little minor. Some wording changes, like you mentioned, Todd. Puck over glass for delaying the game. It used to say that the puck had to be deflected or rebounded off the boards, glass, goal net, frame, or otherwise. Now we're just going to say it was deflected. Interference used to say a penalty shall be imposed, and I love this one. Now it's a penalty can be imposed. So we're putting the judgment of the officials into the rule book. The one that I thought was most interesting, though, is the rule around high sticking, because I think we've had issues in the past on what is a high stick. I mean, we know it's a stick above the shoulders. You get clipped in the face, it's a high stick. But if it's on a face-off, if you're bent over, if your head is in a lower position, it's not always a high stick depending on the situation. So the new definition for a high stick in the NHL rulebook is one that contacts an opponent above the shoulders, provided their shoulders are at waist level or higher. So we're putting that cutoff of where a high stick can happen. So if you're bent over, if you're down on the ice, it's not a high stick. If you're above waist level, it is. And that's typically how the league has enforced it over the years. That's how they've interpreted the rule. But now they've codified it into the book. So now Rule 60.1, 3, and 4 all specify that these are situations where a player was contacted at the neck, face, or head above the height of the opponent's waist for it to be a high stick. So those are good ones. We've got a couple more, Todd. You ready for the hand pass change? Because
this is an interesting one because we've seen this pop up a few times. It especially pops up, of course, with goals that go in the net and how the puck got in the net.
We've had a few hand pass situations where we see a player have the puck deflect off their glove to a teammate. Maybe they gain an advantage, maybe they don't. I remember some situations in the playoffs where we've had this happen. It's been a really controversial call in some situations for the hand pass. They've added a sentence in there that now, in the opinion of the on-ice officials, if the puck is deflected off a player's hand and no advantage has been gained, it is not a violation of the hand pass rule. Again, nothing groundbreaking, not a big change to the rule, but just clarifying there with that extra line to say there may be situations where the puck goes off a player's hand and we're just going to play on. We're not going to look for a hand pass call. We're not going to blow the whistle and call it dead. It's really looking to see, was there an advantage gained? So that's how they interpreted it before. Now they've put it in the rule book. And one more interpretation change, which doesn't change what we see on the ice, but may factor in, is the offside rule requires a player's skates to have not completely crossed the blue line. And now, Todd, we get a definition of a skate. At least in the context of this rule, the skate, we needed this, right? The skate is to be considered blade of the skate. So my first thought is, well, did we have any situations last year where somebody's laces or maybe somebody's boot were the determining factor? And we didn't. So why make this change? And the only thing that I can come up with is, with all of the technological advances that the NHL has seen, with the Hawkeye technology they're using, with puck tracking, with player tracking, I'm thinking that they might be using the skate blade as the definitive point to allow one of these systems to determine when a player was offside. So that, I think, makes a little more sense when you say, well, why do we have to define it as a skate blade? Because now we can get the systems, we can get the Hawkeye or whichever application it is, we can get that to find where the player's skate blade is. And now we know how to calculate whether or not their skates were offside. So perhaps that's the reasoning behind it. But I thought it was interesting. Seemed like an unnecessary clarification, but a curious one.
Well, yes, when you put it that way, because my immediate thought is, okay, so how could you have part of your skate cross onside over the blue line and not have the blade over the blue? And I couldn't figure out how to, but you're right. If this is a technological thing, let's really speculate now. Could it be that this is something that is going to come into play at some point, that we are going to have the assistance of technology to officiate offside calls? If you can do it immediately, wouldn't that be the best thing?
Hey, and if your rule already supports how you're going to do it, then we're one step closer.
Okay, that's pretty exciting. That's pretty exciting. Another development that occurred, it was a story in The Athletic that I stumbled upon and wanted to ask you about, because it was during the NHL Players Media Tour, and Linus Ullmark had some very interesting comments about everybody's favorite topic, which is, of course, goaltender interference. Why wait until mid-season to get into this? I think we should do it right away. We spent so much time talking about it last year and in previous years. Let's just get right into it. But I like what Ullmark is proposing. In general, his suggestion is that former goaltenders be part of the situation room and the reviews to help better define what is and what isn't goaltender interference. Because if we all have a better understanding, doesn't that help the play move along a little more smoothly?
I think it does, and I think that's the hardest thing. So I appreciate it. I appreciate that Ullmark was thinking about this all summer long. This has just been his focus, even to the point where having a specific person in Toronto who's just kind of watching it and monitoring it and trying to put it in there for consistency. But I mean, that's the hardest thing. And Chris King, in response to that, I saw his comments that basically said, these aren't black and white. There's a lot of judgment that goes in. They're never the same. Each goaltender interference call is like a snowflake with all the different things that go into it, and they're all unique. And I get that. Each play is different, but there are a lot of situations that are similar, or there are a lot of standards that we could say consistently, let's call this, in these situations, what are the criteria? And the more you spell those out, especially like Ullmark said, if we have goaltender input and let them weigh in on the different criteria and figure out how it is supposed to contribute to whether or not the call is overturned, I think there's a lot of room for improvement there. I think we can look, and we do now. Did the contact occur in the goal crease? Did it occur outside of the goal crease? Where was the puck at the time? Was it intentional? There are those criteria that we look at today, and I think if we just kind of expand on that a little bit, maybe we could make it a little bit clearer to build out the formula. And yeah, it's not going to be easy. It would be pretty complicated, but maybe we can look at those criteria like Ullmark is hoping for to say, let's make it a little more black and white, and let's try to find at least a few things to get some additional consistency there. The hardest thing is, as a goalie or even as a player, you don't know what's going to get called or not called. You feel like there's that mystery, that gray area around it. And I think the more we can define, the closer they can get to saying, look, we know these are the situations. Let's go from inside the crease, outside the crease, rebound situation. Let's expand on that a little bit more and try to get a few more things black and white. It's always going to be a judgment call at the end of the day, but maybe we can do a better job. No, we can absolutely do a better job at defining goaltender interference.
Good stuff, man. Where to work?
Get in the box. It's the Scouting the Refs podcast.
Nicely done.
Read more at scoutingtherefs.com. Follow Scouting the Refs on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Email the show at heyref@scoutingtherefs.com.
You're good, Mike.
Subscribe, share, and keep those sticks down.
That's good play.